Hello, radio fans. My name is John, amateur radio call sign KC1KOP. I recently bought an M130A screwdriver antenna with the intentions of putting it on a motorized mount on the top of my new camper van build. I also bought the AX-17Pro controller with the intentions of tying all this stuff together into my ICOM 7100. Let me tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it. I've been fooling around with it for the last week or so, and I've gone down the rabbit hole. So stay right there. I'll be right back.
Well, okay. I ordered this stuff 3 or 4 weeks ago from HamGeek. They took PayPal, which I like. A day or so later, I ended up with order confirmation and a tracking number. It originated from Hong Kong. A couple days later, it was in Taiwan, clearinghouse there, UPS clearinghouse. Then it was up in Alaska. It made its way down into the States. A couple days later, it was on my doorstep. So 10 days shipping is about right. This was very well packaged. Both of these items came together in the same box. When I opened it up, everything was in good shape. The one thing I found was, or didn't find, was documentation. There's zero documentation. So immediately I got in touch with HamGeek. They sent me a link to some files on LimeWire, of all things. I gave that about 30 seconds and I said, I don't think so. It comes with a 2-piece whip. As seen here, it's held together with just a little Allen wrench. There's a 10 millimeter screw mount on the end. It comes with a 17-foot telescopic whip, which has got the same mount on the end, and that would screw into right here. It comes with a bag of accessories. In there, you're going to find another rain boot for the bottom. This one is the one that's on there is red. I guess you give you your choice of red or black. There's a bunch of connectors. There's a wrench, a little Allen wrench. There's some set screws if you lose the set screws you have, and there's a good sized roll of braid. And you use that for grounding this thing because it is kind of sensitive to grounding. There is a UHF PL type connector that's in the bottom here, and this is all pretty rugged. I don't think it's going to fall apart any soon. The whole build here is really strong. It's a really rugged system, and it looks like it's going to stand up pretty well. The one thing that I did notice about this antenna is that there's a total lack of label. There's no information as to what this thing is, who made it, where it came from. There's no model number, no serial number, no basic specifications. Okay, here we have the AX-17Pro auto antenna system. It comes well labeled, as you can see. There's contact information on the front, www.bd4acw.com, and go there for the Android drivers or the Android app that will help you do the original setup, configuration, and it will let you do some control stuff like put the antenna up, put the antenna down, put it into UHF, VHF configuration. It's a nice little app. You really only need to really use it once. It comes with a cable for ICOM, which is something I'm going to be looking at closely. It comes with a jumper cable for the rig to the controller itself. I'm going to focus on the connection to the IC-7100.
Well, okay, radio fans, there's an overview of the ordering process and what's in the box. The next part of this equation is the motorized mount for the top of the roof. I took a look at the Diamond A9000. It's a motorized mount, but it's designed for whips. The spec is a pound max. I saw a couple guys on YouTube running with an ATAS, trying to run an ATAS back and forth, and it worked, but it didn't look like it was going to work for very long. So I had to go to Amazon. I found a linear actuator that had 6 inches of throw. It was good for 200 pounds. Now we're talking. And it was relatively inexpensive. I think it was 35 bucks. So I used some leftover 80/20 from the van build. I made a mount for it, and it's on the van right now. So let's go out and take a look at that, and then we'll attach the antenna to it.
So here we are outside. You're looking at a 2024 Dodge ProMaster 2500, and it's got a as my girlfriend. It's got a flatline roof rack on it. So let's get up there and take a look at this motorized mechanism. Okay, so up the ladder we go. Oh, it's a little busy up here. So what's going on? All right, in the back here we got a AC unit, and we got a mesh-tastic node. There's our actuator over there. I'll zoom in on that. I'll show that working in a minute. I'm just trying to give you the lay of the land. And we got a couple of solar panels here. Then up front we got over-the-air antenna, and we've got roof fan. We've got a 2-meter antenna, 2-meter 440. Next to that is satellite navigation and Sirius radio, and there's a Starlink Mini. So it's a little busy up here, and I have to wonder if this roof rack and these solar panels are causing some backplane problems. But I've got it grounded pretty thoroughly up here. All right, so here's a closer look at the actuator. It's actually pretty simple. It just takes that arm and just moves it up and down. To get this all done and tweaked out, it took about an afternoon. Over here you can see the UHF connector on the top. That keeps it dry. Down below, that's a 45-degree mount. I bought this on, it's a piece of cable, coax attached to it. I bought this on Amazon. This is solid core wire, which was probably not a good choice. I'll probably replace it with some AU stranded. Then I've got this grounding. Grounding is like instrumental with these antennas. So this is grounded down to right here. I drilled a hole in the roof and got that all cleaned up. And this is the stuff that I've been using to seal the roof everywhere. It doesn't have any acetic acid in it, so it's a good candidate. And over here I decided to ground it to the roof rack as well. I noticed that the SWR did go down a little bit. Along here I do have an air loop, and that's maybe 5 or 6 turns. And then further down I've got a couple of ferrite chokes in there, and then it runs into a gland, and then it goes down into the van. Okay, so what I've found is if we use this short segment attached to here, this works well for 440, 2 meters, and I've gotten it to tune all the way up to 17 meters. If you attach this together, make it a 2-part, this is good for something like 6 meters up to 40 meters. So this is kind of like right up the middle. And then if you attach this guy and extend it all the way, you can get up to 80 meters. It'll also tune down to 40. Now you can change the length on this and get it to tune down to other frequencies if you'd like, but that's kind of what I've found. Something else that's kind of important here is is how you tighten this thing down. You really should grab here to tighten this down here. And here's a spot right here for a wrench, and another wrench right here. Don't grab it from the bottom. If you do, there's a screw mechanism in here that you might damage. Again, when you're tightening it down to the PL connector on the vehicle itself, grab it from down here. Make sure you tighten from the end, or if you tighten from up here, again, that screw may be damaged. So I'm going to attach this 2-piece, and we're going to go back outside, and we're going to try it on the radio. Okay, we're back on the roof. I'm going to hand tighten this down. Again, I'm going to put all the force down right here at the bottom. Like I said before, if you screw this from the top, it's just going to want to move around. I'm holding the connector on the back. All right, so that's a pretty good fit. It's on there pretty sturdy. Let's go take a look at it going up and down from the other side. Okay, so let's bring it down. It moves real smooth. It's not bouncing around. Gets to the bottom, it's stowed. Okay, we're all set. Now go back up. It's working hard. Okay, behind the driver's seat I have the switch that will put the antenna up or down. It's got a key latch so that the key has to be in before it will do anything. There's a little magnet on there so I can attach it to the metal frame just so it's out of the way. I really don't want to be driving down the highway and inadvertently hit the switch and deploy the antenna and then not know about it. Okay, well that's it for the That's it for the antenna, the mounting, and the motorization of. Let's move on to the controller. Okay, here's the controller. What I've done is I've attached the coax. This comes with it, and that's going to connect to the radio itself. Here's the ICOM cable, and this is going to tie right into the antenna tuner adapter or connector for the ICOM 7100. On the other side, this runs up to the antenna. There are two buttons here. One is for up, the other one is for down. And then if you push the two at the same time, it takes it to the all the way down position. And that's typically used for 6 meters, UHF, and VHF. Okay, so here we are at the base station for the ICOM 7100. It's being powered by the 12-volt battery in the van. There's a ground strap that goes to the chassis. That goes to the chassis here. That helps to try to keep noise down. Noise is always a problem, as we know. This is the high HF output from the rig right here, which goes to the input here. This is the cable that came with it. Here we have a little nib for, this is the Bluetooth antenna here. This mini DIN connects here. Then we have the ICOM Molex connector that plugs in here. This connector goes to the A9000 motorized device, which kind of works as we've seen on YouTube. I opted not to use this. I'm not sure how much current I can source, so I didn't tie it to my system. My system's just mechanically driven. On this side, this is where we've got the connection going up to the A130. This is the connection I spoke about earlier. This is the slop I talked about. I don't particularly care for that. This is a PL connector. This is an Amphenol PL connector. These guys invented it. And it's still got that slop, so that's just something to be aware of. Okay, so we're going to put this back on. Let me tell you what I know about this. The base station powers the antenna system. The antenna system then sends DC voltage up the coax to the antenna. There's a bias T and a low pass filter which plucks off DC voltage that goes to the motor. 12 volts DC says go up, 8 volts DC says go down. There's also a 5-volt regulator on the circuit board just to run the logic. That's what I know about this. Now let's go tune up the radio. So here we are on 40 meters. The antenna is connected, the controller is connected, and the radio is on. I'm going to push the tuner call button, and we're going to ask that the antenna be tuned. Okay, so there's a tune on 40 meters. Let's go check our SWR. And this is set up for 10K steps. We're going to be 6 steps below and 6 steps above the center frequency here. Here we go. There's our SWR. See the dip? So it's not exactly broadband, but and I do suggest that you retune if you're moving around in the band. Okay, let's take a look at the app. This is running on a tablet. Right now it's set up for 1-key TU, which is typically used for the Yaesu and ICOM. It's also, I think when you set that up, you also want to have this antenna selection. If you say general, I believe that would be for the SD 330 or the little Tar Heel. You'd also have to make this selection. You can then move the antenna up and down from here. I'm not sure what this tune button does. This would put it back to the 2 meter 440 selection. Right now you've noticed that the position has been blocked out. You can use the signal for this particular antenna. It's not being used here. Now you can use it with an A9000 to put your antenna up or down, but that's, as we've seen on YouTube, is quite the haul, so I don't suggest that. And I didn't tie that into my system. I don't know what kind of current I can source from this rig, so I have it so that it's just a manual setup. So that's just a quick overview of the AX-17Pro app.
Okay, well that was fun. But what did I learn? I learned that the ATAS and the M130 send RF and DC voltage over the same coax. The little Tar Heel and the SD 330 run 2 separate lines. On the coax, they run RF, and then there's a separate line which is for DC motor control. They flip the polarity to change the motor direction. I was able to achieve reasonable SWR on all bands by changing the whip on the M130. Use the small whip, and that will get you some pretty good coverage on UHF and VHF. The 2-segment whip will get you between 6 meters and 40 meters pretty nicely. And then the 17-foot whip, the monster, will get you on 80 to 40 meters with a pretty good signal. The other thing I learned, and this sounds like words of wisdom, the car becomes part of the antenna, and every install is as different as the car itself. So things might be different for every install. So you might have to fool around with things is what I'm saying. I also found that the Diamond A9000 motor controller basically wasn't going to cut the mustard for this antenna because it's a little bit heavier than the other one. Okay, likes and dislikes. I didn't like the fact that there was no label or identification on the antenna itself. It's a high quality antenna. Guys, put your name on it. I didn't like the funky PL connector on the controller. That's just going to be grief and aggravation. The fact that there was no documentation is just incredibly annoying. It took me a long time to figure out how to make this thing work and how to put it all together. I guess that's what this video does. Likes. I like the quality of the antenna itself. It's really outstanding. The controller is worth every dime, and I did a lot of research. It's probably the best one I found. What I'd like to see on the controller is some kind of an indication that would tell you that you had a bad tune. There was a couple of times, probably for my just not paying attention, that there was a bad tune, and I'm thinking that I'm all set to go to only find out the SWR is off the wall. Maybe if the controller just made a little tone that went you'd know right away that it was a bad tune. Okay, if you like the video, leave a thumbs up and leave a comment below. If you're interested in the van build, stop back in a couple of weeks. I'm going to do just a quickie overview. I bet you're all wondering right now, does that mic really do anything? Yeah, it really does. But I don't have to hold a button down. It's just force of habit. Okay, that's it. 7-3. This is KC1KOP signing off.